Acura TLX Type S, the turbo V6 super handling all-wheel drive flagship of Acura's entire lineup, because there's no more NSX. It's aiming right at the BMW M340, the Mercedes C43, and the Genesis G70. The only problem is whoever calibrated that aim was aiming about 2008 or so. Acura has a bad habit of this. There's some really great products and some really whatever products in the lineup. You know, there's the legends like the Acura Legend and the RSX and the Integra and the TL. The original TL is a great car. The TSX, all these things. But then the previous gen TLX was kind of a snooze. The ILX was confused, and the rest of them were whatever. It's like in the NSX, the second gen was not well received. Of course, you had the amazing first gen, but that's really a Honda. And this TLX was supposed to be the grand correction of the TL lineup, which fell off after about 2008. A couple special things about this platform that's completely unique to it. This ratio here is called dash to axle. There was special care taken in the engineering to extend that, to make it look more like a front-engine rear-wheel drive car versus what it actually is, which is a V6 transverse front-wheel drive-based car. There's also dual-wishbone front suspension, and the rear suspension is multi-link, and it's designed to take all-wheel drive. And the interior is its own Acura thing, has its own infotainment, which I'll talk about in a second. It's meant to be a special new platform, but nobody's been buying the thing since 2021. This is the 25, which they have updated with things that nobody asked for. All right, the problems start in here. Generally, nice interior until you interact with the one thing that you have to interact with in every new car, is its infotainment. They haven't changed it. Since the TLX came out in 2020-21, this has been such a bad idea, and what they did is just added more of it. So let me walk you through why it's terrible. So you have this trackpad down here, which nobody likes, because it's not a touchscreen. It's too far. And this trackpad makes no sense because it is like a mirror of the screen up there. You're meant to treat it as if the screen is down here, except it's up there. It doesn't have any positional memory. So look, navigation's in the top left. Normally what you do is, oh, where am I? Oh, I gotta swipe up to go, nope. You just touch the top left to go to navigation. That is nonsense. Oh, I gotta go bottom right middle for smart shortcuts. Who can do this while they're driving? And I love this, that you go to CarPlay, which is, by the way, bottom left of the trackpad. You click it, it has positional memory. I don't have to think about where am I placing my finger, while I'm also where am I placing this massively wide vehicle on the road. The other thing that bugs me is you have this sub-trackpad on the other side for this little extra bit here that shows useless information. A clock, navigation, which you normally would just, pull up navigation. And look, that's just dumb. It sucks because the rest of the interior is kind of nice. The seat, lovely, comfortable. Steering wheel, excellent. Lots of physical controls. Love physical controls. So many buttons for everything else. You have buttons, full rack of buttons over here for everything. You have buttons for your vented and heated seats, and you can do auto. You have your buttons for your HVAC. That's all lovely. It's also tactile. It's also good. It's off to a great start. And then you just interact with the thing you have to interact with, which is infotainment, and it's actually terrible. They try to fix it by giving you a little seat track button and a volume knob, which actually goes a long way, to be honest. It's still a complete nonsense infotainment. It was dead on arrival, and it should be dead now. Bring the screen closer, put a touchscreen. I just don't understand who at Acura thought this was a good idea to keep into this year, and who at Acura at the beginning who designed this, who thought, yes, this is a great infotainment that competes with iDrive 8. It just doesn't. And before we hit the road, let's talk about the engine, because it's actually specific to the Type S, the MDX, and the TLX. It is a 3-liter quad-cam single-turbo V6, which is a very odd configuration. It's called the J30AC because it's based on Honda's normal V6, except they put new heads on it, and it did a whole treatment to it. It is specifically developed and made for the TLX and MDX Type S. This is the only place that this engine lives, is in those two cars. It's 355 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. Therefore, it must be very special, right? Well, the EPA stated fuel economy is 25 mpg highway, which is worse than the M340i and the C43 and the Genesis G70, and 355 horsepower is worse than the B58 and the 340i and the C43, and it's about the same as a V6 Genesis G70. So what are we doing here? I don't know why they chose a single turbo. It's actually a really interesting choice. Normally these things are twin turbo, but I'm guessing it's a packaging reason because I'm seeing no space either side of this engine, and that's usually the reason why engineers do stuff. It isn't anything exciting because it's swag and it's single. It's just because they can't fit stuff somewhere, so they move it over here. I love that there is no less than 4 or 5 layers of heat shielding on this. If you count it here, there's one just over the hot side, there's a second layer there, there's a third layer here, there's a fourth layer on the hood, and there's a fifth foil layer there. Actually, technically 6 if you count the engine padding. So there's 6 layers with air gap of insulation, such as the heat that comes off this turbocharger. All right, so driving the TLX Type S is where the mixed bag kind of continues. Let me explain. So first, we're here on a twisty canyon road. I'm going to put it in Sport and Sport Plus, put it in Drive, and to put it in manual mode, you first put it in Drive, and then you put it in S, and then you pull the paddle. Simple, right? Problem is, as soon as I leave my little parking spot and I go for a little rip, it shifts me at red line. I'm not doing anything, and I'm in manual mode. Immediate, terrible gripe. I'm on a twisty road. I don't want the thing to shift for me. I want it to hold a gear in some of these sections. And then when I want to downshift, it's not quick enough to respond. There, it's just denying me a shift. The gearbox is just not great. It's a bit pudgy. It's a bit annoying. Sometimes the converter forgets to lock up, so you get this, oh, kind of like response to it. Most of the time, it's pretty good about locking the converter and feeling like more like a ZF8 or something good like that. I think the biggest sin I could say about this is that the gearbox is better at cruising speed. When I'm just kind of sitting here, even if I put it in S, it's a bit dim-witted, honestly. It's just, the calibration is not what it needs to be. It's just 10 speed just not up to snuff. That's the first thing that's just a problem. So I'm gonna put it back in manual because I can't stand how this thing shifts itself, honestly. The second thing is this engine. It honestly feels a bit weak. It does not have take your breath away power like a B58 and M340i does. It's a lot better than a C43, I'll give you that, because that's just not a good powertrain, that 4-cylinder. It's a bit of a bummer. But at least in the C43, you get really great fuel economy. And in the M340, you get really great fuel economy and a really responsive, punchy engine. And this, you kind of get this whatever experience. And then over the 900 miles I've driven this car quite a lot, actually. I took it all around, took it on the canyons, took it on highway drives to get myself to and from stuff for work. And I've averaged 19.6 mpg. And that's not all that much spirited driving. There's a lot of highway miles in that should be averaging much higher. This thing's rated for 25 highway and 19 city, about 21 combined. So how is the fuel economy combined so poor? I just don't get it. Oh, then it's a performance car, so therefore it must not be economical. Okay, well then explain to me how an M3 gets almost 30 mpg. That's not to say I hate the engine. Actually, I like the engine. It has a nice character. It's just on paper and in practice, it's just not all that powerful or special. It's a decent engine. It sounds like down low. It sounds nice. It's got a really classic J-Series Honda tone. It doesn't sound like a VQ. It's very smooth, and the mechanical sound of it's really nice, and the exhaust sounds pretty good, actually. Doing decent speed, it just doesn't take your breath away. And honestly, I still think a M340i would show this thing its taillights, and it doesn't rev all that. It revs nicely, but not for any good reason. It's kind of better just driving around the 3,000 to 5,000 RPM range. And I think that's very odd for an engine that was specifically designed for a performance application. It's almost like it was tuned for like an SUV and then it was put into this. And I guess it was tuned for the MDX Type S as well, so there's your compromise. But having your own dedicated, just for this car, twin cam head, single turbo setup, all these modifications, it's really costly. And if this is the result, which is just a kind of powerful, really not great at MPGs, not efficient engine, that's a bit of a waste of money, isn't it? It's just not up to snuff anymore in this segment, I'd say. This whole past couple minutes makes it sound like I really don't like this car, and in a lot of ways, I think the better thing I'd say is I don't understand the point of it. So let's talk about some good things. I do like, actually, a fair couple things about this car. There's some really nice things that Acura's done here. So first is the overall vibe, the handling. It's actually really pleasant. Honestly, it does handle nicely. I can't take that away from the car. What I'd call this car is very linear. It's really easy to get up to speed with, and it doesn't do anything weird. It's not excitable. You can't really slide it around, but it's very linear. It's easy to dig into the grip in this thing. And there's something pleasant about that because not a lot of cars are tuned that way anymore. And it's gotten me thinking about how cars are non-linear anymore. And this is very linear. It's very easy to build into, and I like that. And also, Acura did a great job with the braking system here. The brakes are actually brake-by-wire, which is quite common now, but when this car was new in 21, really unusual. And honestly, the calibration's really good. These are the most natural feeling fake brakes I've ever experienced. You feel like your foot is physically on the brake rotor, pressing on the brake pads, parsing out pressure just perfectly and delicately. That's what it feels like with this car. It's just a nice firm pedal that's not too heavy, it's not too high effort, but the pads aren't too grabby. So it's really easy to brake the car lightly and gently and choose exactly how much pressure you want. Great job on the brakes. And also great job on the dampers. This is refreshingly nice. It's not trying to be stiff, it's not trying to be crazy, it's just trying to be good. It's absorbing all kinds of impacts. It's absorbing the big stuff, it's absorbing the little stuff really well, the ride quality is really nice, and you know what, it still feels light on its feet. So it has this really nice matchup of spring and damper that makes the car feel agile, relatively speaking, and makes the car also feel supple. The setup is actually really good for the driving most people will do. It's not set up for the upper percentile. It's set up for your average kind of enthusiast guy who will buy an TLX Type S and take it up to the canyons every now and again. But realistically, where I want to try this car is in comfort mode and normal mode, and where really the person who buys it is going to use it every day to, you know, take their kids to school, go do the shopping, that kind of stuff. That's where this really lives. I wish I could find more in it, but I got to think of the use case for the car. It's actually an everyday luxury sedan. So let's breathe and let's put it in normal. And this is actually where I think the car gets really good other than the fuel economy, which because it's so good at this, the fuel economy should be better. But when I put it in normal mode, this is actually such a nice, just brain dead daily, besides the infotainment, which I have to set the CarPlay and forget. Otherwise, I will want to launch myself to the moon and stay there. But like otherwise, it's nice. The touch points are nice. Everything is a physical control. So everything's really easy to get grips with besides the infotainment. And the gearbox is just smooth. It's easy to take off from stoplights. It feels torquey. It feels nice. It's quiet on the highway. And I think this is where the TLX is really nice, is that it's not trying too hard to be too sporty, even though I just criticize it for not being sporty enough. So I have to decide what I want here. But I think maybe this is aimed at a more reserved, casual kind of person. Maybe this is a philosophical question, is do you want a performance car that's best when it's turned all the way down, or do you want a performance car when it's best when it's turned all the way up? I think Acura chose the former. This is kind of best when it's turned all the way down and best enjoyed at a casual pace. So I'm a bit confused about this car because on one hand, there's things it does really well, and there's some things it does extremely poorly, like really badly. And it also has me thinking, okay, this is a linear, kind of simple, very old school method of tuning a car, but it's also not quite right. Like, okay, yeah, the dampers are pretty nice, but then for some reason in hard cornering, the body like shakes and stuff. It's like it has a rigidity issue. The brakes are really well tuned, even though they aren't actually connected to the brakes. It's like a e-pedal basically. And the thing is, this car is not even the physical parts or the cost away from being good. They spent the money. They spent the money on the engine, on everything, on all the parts you need to have a good $60,000 sports sedan. The problem is actually just the tuning. The gearbox upshifting on its own is stupid. That's not, if you call it a Type S and if you claim it's a high performance sedan, that's just not acceptable. You cannot do that. It also needs to handle a bit better. It handles okay on big roads. It's not enjoyable to really drive in any situation, especially on a little road like this one. It's just cumbersome and huge versus its competitors, which are all cumbersome and huge, but somehow drive much smaller than this. It's got the parts to be good, but not the tuning. And I wonder if that's a product of its environment, of the innovation at Acura, or something that's going on there, because it's a shame. It's really maybe 5-6 steps away from being a really good car, but as it is right now, it's no M340 killer.